Hello and welcome everybody. I finally got my Oil Analyzer's oil analysis back. This is for, again, my 2013 Town & Country minivan. As you can see right here, this is the lubricant analysis report. There is my car right there, Town & Country, as we talked about. It uses that 3.6 Pentastar variable valve timing engine, and I have the AMSOIL 030 Signature Series motor oil in there. I've had it in there pretty much the entire time I've owned it. I've had it in there the entire time I've owned it, but I bought the car, I believe, I forget the mileage now, but it wasn't very much. It was a 1-year-old vehicle, had very little miles on it. I think my other videos I talk about exactly how many miles I had on it, but currently I have 78,935 miles on it, almost 79,000, and I do have, it has an hour meter on there, 2,239 hours. So there's quite a few hours on there, I guess, when you think about it. I know it does get a lot of idle time. And again, the main reason why I wanted to do this oil analysis is because lately I've been using it really heavy for towing and other things that, you know, a lot of, again, extended idle time, towing a trailer, towing loads inside of the trailer. It's been getting used very well, above and beyond its intended use, I can assure you of that. And these engines, these 3.6, they actually have a tech bulletin out on these engines that they tend to have a problem doing extended drain intervals, again because of the fact that they directly inject the fuel right into the cylinders, and a lot of that fuel will get past the rings or, you know, the combustion process and contaminate the oil quicker. And then again, if you know anything about these Pentastar motors with that cartridge style oil filter, again, I've told you that filter does not do anything. You can take a flashlight and put it in behind it or whatever, put it up to the sun if you dare to. You can see right through that thing. It's terrible. It's the worst filter ever. I've looked at K&N, I've looked at Fram, I've looked at Wix, I've looked at them all. There isn't a filter out there in that canister style that I know of that actually looks like it filters anything. So I have put on the bypass system, which is the AMSOIL single bypass. I hook it into the oil pressure sensor. You'll see that in my last video on how I took the sample and I showed you how it was set up. And that is supposed to filter down to 1 micron or less than a micron, and it's also supposed to absorb, you know, moisture and basically take a lot of the contaminants out. Now, I've had it in there since I've changed that filter, probably close to 8,000 to 10,000 miles. And again, I've been running it really hard, a lot of idle time. So, that being said, especially when I started towing the trailer, I was concerned. I was concerned that maybe it was getting to a point where, you know, I'm going to need to change oil. I mean, listen, all oils today are pretty good. AMSOIL, one of the best, if not the best, in all the independent studies and testing that's done all over the world in labs and you know, in real world applications. The thing that I want to say here, though, is nothing lasts forever. This van is not going to last forever. I'm not going to last forever. You're not going to last forever. You get the point. Nothing lasts forever. So with that being said, but given what I've been putting this vehicle through, it has gone a long time, impressively so, and without a doubt in my mind, it's the bypass filtration system and the AMSOIL that has gotten me this far. I firmly believe if I were using dinosaur petroleum type oil and just the standard, I would have to be doing this, and the standard filter, I'd have to be doing this 3,000 to 5,000 miles, and I'd have to change it. Guaranteed. I pretty much can guarantee that, especially if you're going to go by oil analysis. So anyway, let's get right into that. The last two reports that I got, I was right here at number 2 with abnormal, but it says abnormal, but when you read the notes here, it'll tell you that nothing is critical. Nothing is, no action is needed. However, you can see now we've moved over to 3 abnormal. And then when you read the comments for this particular sample, you can pause the YouTube right now so you can read that if you want. I'll try to go through it. It basically says that it wants to suggest, monitoring the drain interval, which we're doing, and the equipment operating temperature, which I knew that the operating temperature was getting hot. It went almost up to 240 degrees that one time when I was towing the trailer on a hot day, some of those hills. So I know it was getting really, really hot. And again, I know that petroleum oil, I'd be changing it. Without a doubt, I would have to change it right now because that would have broke that stuff down in a hurry. But with AMSOIL, I know for a fact that that's the only reason why we're still actually able to run this. Even though it says abnormal 3, it says we can still run it. Because you'll look right here, the base number is significantly lower. The base number is what an oil uses as an additive package to resist acids and oxidation and all the contaminants, okay? And then the copper is at a minor level, so that means we're getting quite a bit of copper getting in there, so to speak, or building up, and that just probably means I need to change a filter, is really what that means. Flagged additive levels are different than what they should be. I think what they're saying is that, and they've said this all 3 times, that, are you sure you're using this manufacturer and product name and or viscosity grade? And yes, I know that that's what I'm using. So I don't know if maybe, some leftover engine flush, or maybe I might have used, I changed the filter at one time and I just used a different viscosity of oil or something. That could have something to do with it too. But for the most part, I use 030. I know that. But again, there's a lot of, since I sell a lot of oil, I also, that last drop that you can get out of the bottle, I tend to dump all that into one bottle. And I use it for my lawnmowers and all that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if I dropped it in there after I changed the filter. And honestly, in my opinion, as evident right here, I mean, over 70-some thousand miles and no oil change yet, it's not hurting anything. So then what they're saying here, what they want you to do then is replace the oil filter and top off the system with a fresh makeup oil, if not done when the sample was taken. So we need to resample in 3,500 miles or 65 hours. And my intention was, even back then, was that I was going to actually change that filter and top off the oil anyway, regardless of what this report was going to say. I know I mentioned that in the last video because I know that it's getting close to a point where we need to do that. So it's going to get a filter replaced, and then that's going to require approximately a full quart of oil. So it's going to get like a tetanus shot, you might say, or what they call makeup oil, of about 1 quart. And my only other option then, I guess, is to actually change the oil. And here's the thing. I'm thinking about using this thing a little bit more for towing, which of course will degrade the oil. And I would rather just top it off, change the filter, and have it degrade oil again a little bit more down to critical probably, and it's still going to be protecting. It's still going to be doing its job. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be terrible. And then I would rather just change the oil at that point if it requires it. And of course I'm going to be using Oil Analyzer's report to tell me that. Okay, so now again, I know I've explained this before in other videos, but you can see what the wear metals that are in there. Again, they're talking about copper parts per million, it had 52, and then it went to 47, and now it has 63. So I probably did a much better job of actually changing the filter between here and here. Maybe if I just change the filter a couple times, like within the next, once a month or every 2 months, I might be able to actually get this thing back up to the normal part, number 1 or something. I don't know. Again, we'll track the progress depending on how much I'm using it for towing and all this other stuff. And then you can see here the contaminant metals. Again, for the most part, it's just barely up compared to what was in the last 2 tests, because this is the first sample, the second sample, and then now this sample here. So you can compare for the last 3 times I've been doing a sample on here, and you can literally see that it's barely up compared to what they were before. It's not a whole lot. We're talking parts per million here. And then when you get over here, especially back here, you can see the depletion of the base number additives package that they're talking about. See, it went from 12, 10, it kind of bounced back up to 11, but it's still less than 12. Calcium has definitely dropped. That's a big player in resistance to acids and whatnot. Phosphorus, the same thing. And then zinc for wear. You may have heard a lot of flat tappet cams, for example, in the old engines. They really need zinc, but not so much in these newer engines because they're roller overhead cams and whatnot. But still, you got to have some zinc, and you can see it is being depleted there. And so then when you take a look and you look down here again, the samples, the dates, and you start looking across, it says here that I had marked that I did not do a lube change, because when I did these samples, I didn't do a filter and oil top off, because I wanted the sample to show me exactly what's going on right now. I didn't want to change the filter, add a quart of oil, and then see if it got better, so to speak. I wanted to know what it was doing right now, so to speak. And then as you go across here, there we go, down here, you can see, and this is what surprises me. This is what these engines are known for, is the fuel dilution. And you can see the first one was kind of bad, but now you can pull that dipstick out, and it looks, really brown and black and all that, and everybody's all like, oh yeah, that oil's bad, you gotta change it. Well, look at it. I mean, it smells gassy. You pull that dipstick out, it smells gassy, but it says that it's less than 1 parts per million of a percentage of volume for fuel dilution. So really, again, as I've said before, the physical look of oil is no indicator at all whatsoever as to the condition of the oil. This analytical dialysis is what tells you if the oil is good or not, okay? So make sure you understand that, because a lot of people will pull a dipstick, especially people that are trying to get your money. They'll pull the dipstick out and they'll say, oh yeah, that smells bad and it looks bad, you need to change it. Well, sometimes it can be bad. I mean, I know if I pull a dipstick out and I see on a transmission, for example, automatic transmission, and I see that the fluid is supposed to be red and smell decent, but I can smell it burnt, and I can see that it's black or yellow. I've seen yellow fluid. Yeah, that's bad. You need to change that. Engine oil is a lot harder to see those changes and to smell, quote, those changes. It's just not possible, because again, on older diesel engines, especially, you can change the oil, and the first time you start it up, it's just as black as it was when you drained it with the old oil. So, and then you go back over here and you flip it over, and these are the notes from sample 1 and the notes from sample 2. And as you can see in there, basically the last time it was saying here, oil is suitable for continued use, and I did continue to use it. But now they're saying that we should change that oil filter and top off, and that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to do that. And then of course the last page will show you trending results in bar graphs. So this here will show you this last sample, the last sample, then the sample before that, and then sample number 1. And it just shows you the, what would this be? This is iron and silicone. So it's showing you that the iron content went up and the silicone content went up slightly, so on and so on and so on and so forth. And it's really easy to understand. You know, if you really look at it. It doesn't take a scientist or an engineer to decipher this, and then that's it. So I just wanted to show you this last oil analysis report because I know that a lot of people were probably itching to see how bad this was going to be, because I told you that even I was a little concerned, and I was. And as you can see, if I just kept running it right now like this and not change that filter and add an extra quart, we would probably be critical at least within 3 to 6 months, probably. The way I'm using it now, definitely. But I'm going to go ahead and change that filter and add some fluid to it, and we're going to run it. And we're going to go for another 6-month period or whatever, and we're going to see what's going to happen. And I'm interested. I will definitely want to see. Now, if I'm really towing that trailer really heavy, like I think I might be doing, I'm going to do another oil sample after I'm done doing that, because I want to know how bad it's going to be. But because if it needs to be changed, I'll change it. But again, I'm very happy that we have 79,000 miles on here with no oil change. So I'm extremely happy with that. I'm saving all kinds of time and money here. I don't have to spend my time underneath that vehicle changing it, you know, getting rid of the used oil, however I'm going to do that, you know, all those time and money wasting things. I mean, it just, to me, it's not worth it. And if you want to be environmental about it, I'm not putting any more waste out there in the environment. I'm literally keeping everything in my oil pan for as long as I can possibly keep it there, as long as it's doing its job. And of course, if it becomes critical, yeah, it's coming out. We'll recycle that oil somehow. But yeah, if it's doing its job, I'm going to use it. I'm going to keep going with it. So again, like and subscribe to my videos so you can see more of this content. Share this with everybody that you think would be interested with this or needs to know about this, because again, they're not telling you the truth out there. There's still places out there telling you that you need to change your oil every 3,000 miles. And that is not the case. Clearly not the case. But then, you know, again, if you're using dinosaur oil and you're driving a car like this and you're doing towing, you probably will be changing the oil a lot more often. But again, it's not necessary. You can literally get much more value out of what we have available today. And again, I am AMSOIL Dealer 108 6626. And if you've got any questions at all, get a hold of me here on YouTube, and send a message, email, whatever it is. We'll talk. No pressure, but you know you need it, so let's get it done. Okay? Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you next time.